Hey everybody, welcome in. Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday to you, my friends. I hope you are staying dry. I don't know what the rest of the country looks like, but it's pouring down rain here, and it looks to be pouring down rain for the next several hours. It's pretty gross. It's pretty gross. I got up at 6:30 this morning, and it was pouring down rain, and it has not stopped. So, no end in sight, which gross. I just wish it was snow. Oh, so what is everybody up to? I hope that you're having a good afternoon. If you are taking your lunch break, I hope this is a fun live for you, something fun to take a look at. I'm holding class today. I'm holding class. We're doing Mixed Metals 101. I have a whole stack of mixed metals here to show you, and we're going to walk through this before we even do a project, because maybe you don't struggle with this, but this is one of the probably top 5 things that I get asked about all of the time. People ask me, how do you mix metals? Can you make it so that it is less scary? I don't know how to do it. I'm uncomfortable with it. And so we're going to look at all of the metal types, at least the ones that I have access to, and we're going to mix and match. We're going to talk about what goes with what, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit easier for you than I think that people make this, because I think everybody makes it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. And the reason that I'm bringing this up today is because, number one, I love it. I think it looks awesome. The necklace that we're making today is really pretty, really easy, but also really pretty. But mixed metals are everywhere for spring and summer, so that's not going away. It's one of those trends where it kind of goes like this. It's like tassels. It never goes completely away, but for some seasons it's a little bit more popular than others, but it never truly goes away. And for those of us who have lots of mixed metals in our jewelry collection and want to be able to wear those, not only is this going to help you with your own wardrobe, but this is also going to help you gain some confidence in when you're constructing some of your pieces with mixed metals. Because if you're doing booths, if you've got customers, if you just do this for family and friends or whatever, or if you just make this jewelry for yourself, it's always nice to have this as an option, because you're going to run into people who are going to want mixed metals. And the more confident and comfortable you are doing it, the better you're going to be when it comes to creating pieces. Now, for us, we don't do a lot of it. When we do lives here, I usually stick to one metal. But today I was thinking, okay, we're going to step outside of our comfort zone a little bit, because though this project is easy, I really want you to take away a better understanding of metal and color, because that's really what it comes down to. So hopefully I'm going to demystify some of that for you guys today. If not, well, I tried. I got a couple of things that I do need to tell you, though, before we get into all of this. And that is on Friday of this week, there will not be a Feel Good Friday show. I will be traveling for work. I actually fly out tomorrow, and I won't be back until Saturday. So there will not be a Feel Good Friday show on Friday. However, there is 13 new listings that will be landing in my Etsy shop. You want to check those out. Just because there's not a Feel Good Friday show does not mean that there are not new things coming to the Etsy shop. So check out the Etsy shop. Be sure that you're checking the Facebook group. Make sure that you're checking over here on YouTube, all of those things, because there will be new items hitting the shop, and I'm having a sale. So you want to be sure that you are taking advantage of all of that while I am gone. Okay. Help me help you. All right, so that is coming up. Don't forget, there will be reminders for that as well, just in case you do happen to forget. But so Feel Good Friday will not be happening. My Art Beads Live will still be happening. I'm just not entirely sure how that's going to look or where that is going to be coming to you live from, but I'll let you know. Okay, so let's see. Anything else? Yes. Okay, I almost forgot. So I don't want to stay on this for too long, because this is just sad and it just stinks. But I know there are worse problems in the world, and I can laugh about this. But over the weekend, some of you know, we had a Super Bowl, and my team just happened to be there. And so I made a bet with my friend Joyce, and my friend Joyce, actually, it wasn't my friend Joyce that I made the bet with, it was her husband. So Michael and I made a bet, and he bet me that if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I would have to get on here on the live and say, "Go Eagles." And if the Chiefs won, he would wear a Chiefs shirt all day. So unfortunately, I lost the bet. So, Michael, this is for you. Go Eagles. I wish I could say that with more gusto, but I just don't have it. I just don't have it. I'm not an Eagles fan, but go Eagles. I'm so sad for the Chiefs. They really let me down. But it's fine. It's fine. There's always next year. There's always next year, and there's always room for improvement, and it's all in good fun. So, I know they're all still sitting at home, with their big fat bank accounts. So, win or lose, and the rest of us are just mere peasants in this world, trying to you know trying to make it paycheck to paycheck while they can toss around a ball and never have to work again after one season. Like, wow, wouldn't that be nice? But yes, at least we made it to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row, actually, may I say. It's okay if we didn't win. We were there, and that's all that matters. So there you go, Michael. I held up my end of the deal. Begrudgingly, but I held up my end of the deal. All right, so now we are going to get into this. Let's do it. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do before we get into the project. Now, I say this is like your disclaimer for all of the trolls that are out there that'll watch this on replay later. We're going to do a lot of talking at first. If you want to fast forward, please feel free to do so. You don't have to leave a nasty comment, but this information is important. So I'm going to turn you around. We're going to look at all of the metal differences. We're going to mix and match, look at what works with what to try to help people. That's what I'm doing. I'm not just talking to hear my own voice. So then we will get into the project, because the project's going to go by pretty quick. So let's do it. To the back camera. All right, here we go. Lower you guys down a little bit. All right, friends. Okay, so mixing metals is one of the biggest challenges I think that people face. And a lot of people get stuck in the little quad here. And I'm going to show you the quad. And they forget about the others. All right, so what I have here are just representations, okay? So we have a representation of silver, bright silver, okay? We have a representation of yellow gold. We'll talk about yellow gold here in just a second. We have a representation of antique brass. Debbie. That's funny. And we have a representation of copper. Okay. So most people look at these 4 metals and they go, ugh, none of those go together. That doesn't make any sense at all, except that these actually do go together in a lot of different ways. However, there are so many in-betweens, and one metal that's actually missing from this that I'm going to show you right now. This is the 4 that most people think about when they think about metal colors, but let's add in what's missing, okay? So what's missing from this is hematite, which is almost black, but isn't. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking. We have the 5 main metal colors here. So we have the hematite color, which is like a deep, deep gray. We have our bright silver. We have our yellow gold, our antique brass, and our copper. Now, I am going to show you the variations here in just a second. But before we look at the variations, I want you guys to look at these in a different way. Instead of looking at these as metals, I want you to look at them as actual color, okay? Because that's going to make a difference when we start talking about mixing these together and when we talk about the variations, because some of the tones in these are going to be different, and it's going to be more about the tones and mixing the metal tones than it is about actually mixing all silver goes with all gold. That's not true. That's not true. So let's break it down a little bit. Gold is the hardest one to deal with. And the reason that gold is the hardest one to deal with is because gold comes in so many different tones. Yellow gold that is not real gold, which is what most of us are working with, is the most frustrating out of all of the metals to work with. And that is because yellow gold can come in true yellow, or it can come in like a warm kind of pinky color. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So this obviously is imitation gold, right? This is not real gold, but let's look at it next to what is some real gold, and you're going to see some main differences here. So my ring is real gold, like for real yellow gold. Look at how different those are. There's no there. I don't know who decided when making gold was a thing, making fake gold. I don't know who decided that yellow was the color that it actually is, because that's not true. This ring here, I'll just, the inside of my hand, all four or three, I'm sorry, I can't add today. All three of those rings are yellow gold. They're real yellow gold. But this is what we have to work with in the industry 9 times out of 10, right? What? That's not even close. This color is much easier to mix with other things. It's lighter, it's a little brighter. This is yellow and just ew. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think that that's why most people get frustrated with working with gold or shy away from it, is because it is on the yellow side. So if you're going to call this a color, which we are going to do, call it gold. I mean, yellow, because it 100% is. However, the variations of that color are absolutely insane. Let me show you. So gold wire is not the same color, right? Your jump rings are a completely different color. Look at all three of these. These are all three different colors. The wire is one color, the chain is one color, and the jump rings are the other color. It does not match. So when people go to make their jewelry, they get really frustrated and just give up, because if you're mixing things together, there's no way to match your components and match your chain and match your wire, because they all look different, right? They all look different. So that's why it's really important that you're paying attention to the tone over what the metal is called, because clearly all of these are going to be called gold color, but they are all three very, very different. Okay. So that, keeping that in mind, the number one variation of this is brass. And a lot of people get this confused. So this is yellow gold. This is brass. In my opinion, some of the brass look more like real gold. Look at how close that is than the yellow gold does. So it's really confusing, because when you say brass, people think yellowy or antique-y, but quite honestly, your brasses are more realistic of real gold than your yellow golds are. So again, more frustration, because when you go to pick out your findings, there very rarely are findings that are going to match either one of these, because look, it doesn't really go with the jump rings. Neither one of them go with the jump rings. Neither one of them really go with the wire. Makes absolutely no sense, right? Makes no sense whatsoever. So these are the two that I think most people are most frustrated with when using. So I kind of look at this one as more of like a tan, a very light tan. This is a yellow. So when you're trying to color combine, look at it that way. Then we go even deeper and we go into the antique brass, which in my opinion is brown. Okay, that's brown. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. When we are looking at metals, that's brown. It can be a little lighter, it can be a little brighter, but it's brown. Now, what I do find is that when you mix your antique brass with your brass, works beautifully. That opens up a whole door of findings that are going to work with each other. So if you have brass colored findings, they're going to work with your antique brass. If you have antique brass findings, they're going to work with your regular brass. You are actually mixing metals because they're two different colors, right? Now, same is true with your antique brass and your yellow gold. These work together beautifully. Really, really work well together. And again, is an opportunity for you to mix your findings, which makes life a little bit easier. So if you are confident in these two metals together, then you can use your antique brass findings with your yellow gold, and you don't have to worry that it looks weird because they actually work together. All three of these actually look really nice together, quite honestly, but these are probably the hardest ones to work with, the ones that most frustrating. Now let's take this to a whole nother place of frustration, because this is antique brass, right? This is what we consider antique brass. In the wire world, antique brass is very difficult to make. So antique brass colored wire is brown, right? Brown. What? Who decided those were the same things? It's not just artistic wire. I can show you others. Can show you. This one is Wire Elements. It's brown. It's a little closer in color, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I think I have another one. Ooh. Here's Vintage. This one's Vintage. It's closer, but they're all brown. They don't match. I think this one is the absolute worst. Don't tell Beadalon I said that. But those two things do not match each other. They don't. They absolutely don't. So, yeah, this is just as frustrating as the gold is. And I think that these things are the reasons why people stick with silver, because it's tried and true. You can always find things that match. You don't have to worry. Like, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. This one is the closest match that I have found, but this one is the most popular. It does not go together. I don't know who decided that it did, but it doesn't. This is brown. So, yeah. So when you're looking at your colors, when it is not next to the brown wire, this is brown, this is like a light tan, and this is a yellow. Okay, so we're looking in the yellow, warm section of the color wheel here with these. Okay, now taking this one step further, we have bronze. Bronze is actually brown. What? Who knew? So all this time, antique brass colored wire is actually bronze colored wire, and it works with bronze chain, bronze findings, bronze everything. And bronze is not nearly as popular in the industry, but like if you like Anna Bronze, the designer, all of her stuff is brown, and the antique brass wire will go with it, but you're going to have a really hard time finding jump rings that go with it unless you specifically order brown jump rings. That's why you got to get comfortable mixing some things together, because this looks great with brass. This also looks great with yellow gold. It also looks good with silver and all of that, but we haven't gotten there yet. Okay. All right. So light brown, dark brown. All right. Now we're going to talk copper. Copper comes in a gazillion different shades. This is technically raw copper, but falls into the category of antique copper. Antique copper is darker than just bare copper. Okay. This is pink, y'all. This is pink. When you are trying to mix this with other colors, this is pink. And I know that sounds crazy, but trust me when I say, if you will treat this as a pink, the same way you would treat a pink bead, it makes it so much easier to figure out what goes with this. Because what goes with pink? Lots of things. Purple goes with pink, gold goes with pink, silver goes with pink, brown goes with pink. All of a sudden, it makes this a whole lot less scary to work with. Problem is that as I mentioned, this is bright copper, which is a totally different tone, right? And then you want to make things even more complicated, you throw in rose gold, which is pretty darn close, if you ask me. The rose gold can be a true pink, but most of the time it's copper. And if you label it wrong, a customer is going to come for you. They're going to say, oh, that's pink. That's rose gold. That's not copper. Or that's rose gold. That's not. You told me this was copper. It's rose gold. Like it can be really frustrating because they're so similar, but all three of these fall in the pink category. Treat them as a pink. Don't treat them as an orange. Orange is much harder to work with. And if you look at it and call it orange, you will never be comfortable mixing it with anything because orange is hard to work with. Okay. All right. Now we have our silver, which is tried and true. Okay. This is the one that everybody's the most confident with because the findings match, the wires match, all the chains match. But we do have some variations here. So we have bright silver and then we have antique silver, which is more of a stainless steel. So if you're going to use antique silver, your stainless steel findings are the ones to use if you want it all to match. But you can see there is clearly a difference, right? One is bright, one is not. When you are ordering head pins and eye pins, make sure that you are differentiating between the two. If you want bright silver, look for the bright silver because otherwise you're going to get this stainless steel color and it's not going to match all your jump rings. Okay. Now, then we have brushed nickel, which comes in a lot of different tones as well, is a little bit darker, a little bit deeper, a little bit moodier, but is still in this category. And then last but not least, we have the hematite color, which is almost black, but not. This color has a tendency to lean towards purple or gray. So you kind of have to look at the undertones with this one when you're mixing it with findings, because the Beadalon version kind of leans towards purple and blue, whereas some of the other versions of this are more gray and more black. Okay. All of these work together. So if you want to mix and match your bright silvers and your antique silvers, you can. If you want to mix your hematite with your bright silver, you can. If you want to mix any four of these in a combination, this is mixed metal. Even though they're all in the same family, you're mixing. You could do a beautiful piece with all four of these, right? So there's all of that. If that is not confusing enough. There are so many others in between, right? There are so many others in between. All right. So now clearly we know which ones are going to work together. And just so you're aware, if you're looking at your silvers as colors, okay, your bright silver and your antique silver, white. They are white. So just put that in your head. These are white. What does white go with? Literally everything. Literally everything. Your brushed nickel is gray and your hematite is dark gray, right? So now instead of looking at these and going, okay, these are metals. No, they're just color. It's just color. That's all it is. Treat it the same way you would a bead. If you would mix a brown bead with a yellow bead in your design, then guess what? Your brown and your yellow chains or your metals are going to go together. If you are going to use pink in your design and your pink, you're mixing it with brown beads, guess what? Your pinks and your brown chains are going to go together as well. Not only that, but your pink and your yellow looks beautiful together. Your pink and your brass look beautiful together because pink goes with a lot of different things. The only combinations that I think are kind of tricky are these: copper and antique brass. This is a combination that I never work with. I never use. It doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. There is something about the antique brass and the copper that just don't work well together. Outside of this combination, I think you can literally mix anything together. Literally. except for these two. Now, if you find a way to make it work, depending on like what the beads are that you're using or whatever, then you're probably going to have a better time at putting these two together. But I never, ever, ever grab for these two. I never grab for the regular copper and the antique brass, or the bright copper, or the rose gold. They don't work. It just doesn't go together. And that's just my opinion. Your opinion can be completely different. But I think this is the one metal combination that we can all stay away from and say, okay, the pink of these makes this look green, and it just is not a flattering, good looking green. So, okay. I hope that I have helped a little bit here, because you can get some really beautiful combinations of things. Look how pretty that is. Black and pink. Black and pink go together. Dark gray and pink, they go together. Dark gray and lighter pink, those look beautiful together. And then if you want to get a little pop of white in there, oh my goodness, look how pretty. They're colors, guys. They're colors. If you treat them as a color, it is a whole lot easier to work with. I hope this helps. I know that this, for some of you, is just like the dumbest information ever. Why are you spending 30 minutes on this? This is so lame. How boring. But so many of us really struggle with this. Like really, really have a problem with this, because it's difficult. It is really difficult. That is a beautiful combination, right? That's a beautiful combination. This is also a beautiful combination. You can mix two together. You can mix three together. That is a gorgeous combination. Brown, or bronze, bright silver, rose gold. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So if you will treat these as colors instead of metals, I feel like you're going to have a much easier time. And also understand that each one of these is going to come in a different tone. There are so many colors in between this rainbow here. There's so many different choices. Then you also have like your pure black. You have like your yellow gold that can be brushed, like the brushed nickel, right? So it has that brushed finish. All of them are going to work together somehow. The oddball is always the antique brass. It just doesn't play well with anybody most of the time, except for the golds, because it has a tendency to go green. And I don't know. Sometimes it looks good with your hematites, but it really kind of just depends. It's just the one that I think people struggle with the most. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's not my favorite, but it will work depending on what the rest of the piece looks like. Okay. All right. So now let's put together a project where we are mixing together hematite. So I have my hematite color here, which a lot of people call gunmetal. I don't necessarily call it gunmetal, because some businesses in the industry call this gunmetal, because I guess a gun can be either color, so it can be confusing. So as far as I'm concerned, there is no gunmetal. This is the hematite color. This is antique brass. Okay, I hope that helps. So we're using the hematite color. I'm using my antique copper, right? And I'm using bright yellow gold. This little triad, really beautiful together. Not necessarily something people would think to put together, but absolutely works. There's just something about it, because we have yellow, pink, and gray. If you look at your yellow crayon, your pink crayon, and your gray crayon, you've got a beautiful little combination of colors. That's exactly what I have right here. I'm mixing in a big, bold glass piece and some big metal beads that are in a brushed nickel. So I'm actually kind of mixing in a different tone here. I have gold hardware for this, and I'm going to be using gold eye pins for this, right? The gold I have less of, but it's going to really pop against these darker colors. Okay, so now let's put it together. Let me show you what I have in mind. A lot of you have already seen the picture. to kind of get an idea of where we're going. But this is going to be our focal, and it's going to go this direction. Instead of this direction, this is going to go here in the middle. And I'm going to take some of my copper chain that I have here, and we're going to create 4 drapes underneath this in varying lengths. Okay, so shortest to longest when it comes to the drapes. I'm gonna have to put these all on an eye pin to figure out which ones are which. And then I think those are my 2 short ones. This one goes in here somewhere. So we're gonna drape those, okay? And then we're gonna do 2 of our beads out this direction, and I'm gonna do 1 more drape from here to here and from here to here. Okay. Then, and I'm using gold findings, bright gold findings with this, even though the majority of what's here is gray and pink. I'm using the gold, bright gold findings. And then I'm going to use my hematite colored chain doubled up for the length of this. Okay. So we're also going to create a little extension chain with a little bead on the end. Okay. So let's do it. Let's do it. We are going to grab an eye pin. Thank you, Floor. All right. So I'm using a 3-inch because this is a big boy right here. So I'm using a 3-inch eye pin, and I'm just going to create a simple loop. My bead has a crack in it. Don't look. Don't judge. Don't judge. All right. Coming in with my cutter tool. I'm going to trim, leaving myself about 1/4 of an inch of wire. Then I'm going to use my round nose pliers, and I'm going to roll back to give myself a loop. Okay, so I have a loop on each end. This loop's a little bigger than this loop. That's okay. I'm not super worried about it. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these guys on eye pins as well, and I'm going to link them together in the middle, and then we're going to start putting the rest of this together. I'm going to use my regular sized 2-inch eye pins for these beads though, so I don't have to have the extra long ones, but still the bright gold color. So each one of those is going to go onto an eye pin, and we're going to do a simple loop. Okay, same thing. Now the holes on these are a little big, so my loop is actually going to kind of tuck down inside there a little bit, which is fine. I'm not super concerned with that either, and you shouldn't be either. When you're using wire and a large hole bead, it's totally different than using bead string and wire. So things like this, I don't stress out about too much because I'm not worried that this bead is going to spin around on this and like break the wire. It's fine. Totally fine. Okay. Oh, that is not a good loop. That's okay. That was a big loop. Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, that's a little better. That one, I'm going to have to change this one. That's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to do a new eye pin for this one. Don't judge. Don't judge. Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you, Cecilia. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet. I'm going to miss everybody on Friday, but I still want you to check out the Etsy shop. I still want you to come and hang out for the Art Beads Live. The Art Beads Live will be on location. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reveal where that location is. If you happen to know where I am traveling to, don't say it in the comment section, because I don't know if that part is still supposed to be secret or not. So if you know, just don't say it, unless I like get on social media and post a picture of like, you know, where like the airport, the little sign in the airport, you know what I mean. It really doesn't matter that much, you guys, but I don't know if I can tell you from where I am going to be. I don't know if I can tell you where I will be. Does that make sense? I might be able to tell you the state and the city, but I don't think I can tell you exactly where. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Either way, there will be some sort of live on Friday over on Art Beads. Okay. So now it is time to start putting this together. I'm going to be using some jump rings, and these jump rings are going to have a big job. The first thing I need to do, though, is I need to make sure that I have the lengths of my drapes correctly. So I know that this one is the top. This is the top link. This is the next one. Now, when you're cutting chain to make yourself some drapes, if you want them to be nice and even, cut them the same distance. So this one right here, I don't know the length of it, but I know that the next one down is 9 links longer. And then the next one down from that is 9 links longer than that one. And this one is 9 links longer than that one. So if you want them to be even, cut your links, unless you're using chain that has different size links. And then you just want to go with like a 1/2 inch difference between the two, or between each one. Okay. So we're going to use a jump ring here. I'm using a little jump ring that's got a real big job. So I'm going to thread on all my chains. Let's start with the longest. So I'm going to thread on the longest one first, the next longest, and then the next one, and then our shortest. And then before I add the beads to this, I'm going to add the drape chain for the one that goes this direction as well. So I'm going to go ahead and thread that on. I'm going to thread my bead on this side. This is a very full jump ring, and then my big bead right there, and close that back. Now for a 4mm jump ring, it's holding a lot of things together. Thank you, Wins. Thank you. All right. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And I got to be careful that I don't mix up my chains here. Okay. So starting with the shortest chain, and then the next chain, the next one down, and then the next. Then we're going to thread on the drape that goes this direction, our bead, and then we need to add our middle bead to this. So very carefully, hoping that we don't drop everything. Put that bead on there. Get your pliers in there. Okay. So now this is what we've got. And when you lay it all out, just make sure that you take your drape chain that goes the other direction out. Okay. It doesn't look like much at the moment. You're just going to have to kind of trust the process here. Okay. All right. Now we're going to use another jump ring. Open up your jump ring, add your drape chain that goes this direction, add your bead, and then add your next bead. Close those together. Do the same thing on the other side. This is definitely a necklace that looks much better hanging than it does laying flat on the mat here. So at the end, I'll grab the bust and we'll take a look at it on the necklace bust. So there's that bead. We don't want to forget this one. And close that back. All right, so we have some drapey goodness going on there. Okay. All right, then from there, we're going to take a jump ring on each end. And my chain, I'm going to double up because I want it to be nice and thick. I didn't have a thick hematite colored chain, so I'm doubling up a smaller chain on both sides. It's going to make it look nice and thick. So 2 on each. So again, a jump ring. And then my 2 pieces of chain. And my bead. Close that back. Come all the way down here to the other end. Make sure that your chains are not twisted unless you just want them to be twisted. If you want them to be twisted, that's totally fine. But I don't. I want mine to run right next to each other. So same thing, little jump ring. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my clasp. My clasp has a 6mm jump ring attached to it. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So my 2 chains going onto my gold jump ring here. Attach that to the loop. Hi, Sherry. Okay, and then bringing this down. Lisa says, what type of style is this necklace? You know, uh-oh, look at what I did. Whoops, that's not going to work. I don't really know what you would call this. Maybe a statement necklace, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know that I would call it a bib so much, just because the drapes in the front are not big enough necessarily to be classified as a bib. I'm not sure. That's a really, really good question. Really good question. I can't believe I did that. That's funny. Okay, so now coming down here to the other end, and I'm going to make a extension chain. Now let me show you what I did, because as we talked about, being really frustrated with the golds not matching each other. So I gave up trying to find a gold chain for my extension chain. And instead I just linked together my jump rings, because I knew that the jump rings that I'm using all match. They match the clasp. They match the head pins or the eye pins that I'm using. So I was like, forget it. I'll just make my own chain. So I just linked together some 6mm and 4mm jump rings to create a little extension chain. And then off the end of that, I did just a little section of just 4mm jump rings. I don't know. I just kind of liked the way that it looked. So I'm going to add this to this end. Okay. And then because I cannot just leave an extension chain naked at the end, because it drives me absolutely crazy. You guys know I got to have some sort of something hanging off my dangle. So I found this little bead. It's actually drilled all the way through, but I'm only going to use one of the drill holes, and I'm going to wire wrap it to the end there. I just liked it. I don't know. I thought it was different. So I'm going to grab a head pin. It's literally the only head pin in this entire project. And I'm going to take this through the center so that I'm only using that one drill hole. I could put a dangle on the bottom of this going through the bottom, but I don't want to. This was good enough for me. So, bending the wire, coming in with my round nose pliers, going up and over, rotate, take the wire over to the other side, and then we're going to wire wrap. Hematite and yellow gold is one of my very favorite metal combinations. Something about it I just really, really love. Okay, I'm going to tuck my end. And then I'm just going to open up this little jump ring on the end and attach it. And our necklace is done. Exactly. Chain extensions need a little dressing up. They do. I mean, because if they're not dressed up, I have a tendency to just cut them off. When it comes to my personal jewelry, if they don't have something sparkly and pretty hanging from them, I cut them off. I'm like, nope, that's boring. There you go. All right, so when we look at this, let's take a look at all of the color. Forget the metal. We're looking at color here, right? Because this is all about color. We have our pinks, our grays, our yellows, right? So pretty. It's so pretty. And it has 3 different metals going on. We have the pops of that bright gold coming through in between here with our little eye pins. We have the gold on the back, which you're probably not going to see very much of unless you have your hair up, but still beautiful. And then I made sure that this part here was in the yellow family. So it kind of goes with the, it goes with the yellow gold that I picked out, but I don't know. I know this style of necklace is not going to be for everybody, but I hope that more than anything, you gain some knowledge about mixing your metals together from the chat we had at the beginning. Question, where do I get my chain from? Well, I get a lot of my chain these days. Let me turn you guys around. Get a lot of my chain these days from Art Beads because they have a great selection of chain. However, some of their chain can be a little on the expensive side. So Beadalon has always been my tried and true for small chain. So like if I just want like small cable chain, Beadalon is where I go for that. For my chunkier chains, Vintage has some really good ones. I used to get really good chain from Lipstick Ranch, but I haven't gotten anything from Lipstick Ranch in a really long time. I'm trying to think. Art Beads is really my probably my number one place for getting larger length chain. But like with all chain, it's the bigger it is and the better it is, the more expensive it's going to be. So you got to be careful because if you're shopping for it on the Art Beads website, your sterling silver chains are going to be crazy expensive. So just keep that in mind. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but chain can be expensive if you're not just buying plain plated. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with plated chain. Nothing wrong with it at all. There's nothing wrong with plated metal in general. Look, I'm going to show you guys. I know you guys see the bracelets and stuff that I have on all the time, right? These are not real gold. Let's be honest. Not only are they not real gold, they're 100% plated, but they're also like their Coach brand. So like that's high end. They're still plated. They're still plated. This is not real. These are not real gold. This is a mixed metal bracelet though. You can see it has that stainless steel and gold color. So it's everywhere right now. It's everywhere. And as I said, it kind of ebbs and flows. It's never going to be gone forever. Mixed metals are here to stay. Just some seasons they're more popular than others. So the more confident you get in working with it, the better you're going to feel. Hopefully I've helped a little bit. So I'll show you the necklace. You don't really see the extension chain on this at all. but you can see all the fun little drapes. It's just a fun little something different. I don't know. I just thought it would be cool. I love chains, so they are good quality, but they're not real is the thing. And nowadays, even what you buy at like Walmart, like in the craft section at Walmart, I actually have a project I'm going to do for you guys soon, and I'm going to ask you a question about it here in just a second. But even the chain that you get from Walmart, like, it's not the best chain in the entire universe, obviously, but the plating on it for the kinds of things that we do, it's going to last. It's going to last a long time. I mean, it's not going to last as long as your sterling silver, but plating has come a really long way. So just so you know, just so you know. Can you expand on base metals, please? It's not something that I know a whole lot about. So base metals are normally one of two things. They are either copper or aluminum. And copper base metals generally last much, much longer than aluminum base metals. The problem is that when you are shopping, not everything is always marked. Your plated jewelry like this, that's good quality, that you're going to spend a little bit more money for, is copper core. That's the base metal, is the copper. And the copper is obviously not cheap, because you can sell copper for, you can make a small fortune off of copper. So copper base metal is going to last you a really, really long time. Rhodium, as a base metal, is not very common and is crazy expensive. So you're not going to see that in the craft and hobby industry. But aluminum is the other. And the aluminum is probably the crummiest. And let me tell you, if you've ever had this happen, you've worked with aluminum as your base metal. If you have ever bought a brand of off-brand eye pins or head pins, and you have gone to make a loop and the plating has flaked off as you have made the loop, that's aluminum base metal. And the plating does not, it's not that the plating is bad, it's that the plating does not stick to the aluminum as well as it sticks to the copper. Outside of aluminum and copper for your base, I have absolutely no more information than that. I know that my daughter's generation, they could care less whether the base metal is copper or aluminum, because they put clear nail polish on everything. I think it's the weirdest thing ever, but she will put clear nail polish, and her friends do it. It's all over TikTok. Like, that's what they do. They put clear nail polish on everything. And that, when she sells her pieces of jewelry, you better believe that she's got clear nail polish, and it's down to an art where you don't even see it. You can't tell that it's coated in anything. Like, they've made it this whole thing. It's so weird. It's so weird, but they do it. They do it because they don't care what that core metal is. So yeah, interesting. It's interesting stuff. I wish that I knew more about metal. I don't, unfortunately. All I know is that, obviously the more you pay for it, the better the quality is, but that doesn't always have to be about the plating itself. Sometimes it has to do with that core. So I know Sherry says they sell a clear lacquer to do the same thing. I know, but when you're 15, you use what you've got, and they, they see each other doing it on TikTok. So that's what they do. And it works. It's cheap. So Jill says maybe your daughter can teach us. So yeah, she's becoming a really impressive little maker, and she'll actually be joining me probably over the summer. It's a little hard for her to be joining me right now. She does sit in on Hardwired, but it's hard for her to join me in the community because she's in school. But we're definitely going to be, you'll definitely be seeing her in the near future. All right, so I'm headed out of here, guys. Just a reminder to you, I will not be here for Friday for the Feel Good Friday show. However, there will be new items added to the shop, so you definitely want to check that out. And there will be a sale going on, so you definitely want to check in to see what that is going to be as well. I'm not going to tell you now. You're just going to have to see. How to keep your gold from tarnishing? I don't have an answer for that. I do know that it's like anything else. The more you wear it, the less likely it is to tarnish, because your oils actually help to protect it. So I think that's probably my number one thing is wear it. If you don't wear it and you put it in a drawer, you just sit it on your dresser, it will tarnish before you can blink. And it doesn't even matter what the quality is, like it'll tarnish. But if you wear it on a regular basis, I very rarely have anything that I wear tarnished. It's the same for silver too, because the oils in your skin really protect everything. All right, I'll be out of here. I'll be flying out tomorrow. I'll touch base with you guys when I can. There will be posts to remind you that I won't be around on Friday, but please be sure that you're checking the Etsy shop. Hardwired will be meeting at 4 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. And let's see. I feel like there was something else that I needed to tell you guys, but I can't remember what it is. Be sure that you sign up for the Michael's class if you want to take it. That'll be my first live back. And then on Tuesday of next week, we're doing bargain bead box sell. Okay. All right, friends. I love you so, so much. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope that you have enjoyed today's lesson. If I missed your question, I'm so, so sorry. I tried to keep up with them as much as I could. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.